Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Shasta College, Humanities 4 through Film Studies. Hope everything's going well. It's on this beautiful spring week, weather-wise, of course. I'm talking about the weather. Today, we're going to cover some stuff that maybe I should have covered earlier, but I was hoping most of you would get the textbook, because all the stuff is in the textbook, either textbook, the story of film, or writing about movies, and that's terms. It's hard to write about movies if you don't know the correct terms, if you don't know what a director does. Do you know what a director does? Do you think you know what a director does? How about a cinematographer? Or as they call them now, mostly director of photography. Do you know what they do? Do you think you know what they do? How about writer? Screenplay. Has anybody ever seen a screenplay? Do you know what one looks like? If you saw it? Do you know why they're written in a certain way? Well, I know this isn't a filmmaking class, but it helps when you're writing these essays that you have a familiar basis on exactly what you're writing about. And so when I ask you these questions about, is the directing effective? What's the script telling us? How's the photography? Then you might have an intelligence response because you know what the heck you're talking about. Before I go any further, there is a new assignment. It's on assignments. I posted it. It's already there. Write an essay. You know the drill. I think I put a few more helpful hints in the essays, but the essays have been assigned. Essay number 6. There will probably be an essay number 7, by the way, but not for another 2 weeks, so don't worry about that yet. And keep up on your journals, and then also start thinking right now about your final research paper, what you want to write about. And shoot me off a text or an email when you're choosing your topic. Pick a topic from a genre. You want to write about westerns, musicals, sci-fi, write about it. These are research papers, though. These are different than the critical essays. You'll do some research online, of course, and synthesize it into your own language, not copy and paste, of course. And voila, there it is. You want to write about your favorite performer or a performer. It doesn't have to be even somebody you like. A director you want to write about, women filmmakers, African American filmmakers, Asian filmmakers, anybody, Native American filmmakers, they're all out there. Doesn't have to be American based either. You want to write, why are Korean films so popular right now? Who saw the Academy Award winning film Parasite? Came out of South Korea 2 years ago. The one that Donald Trump made fun of because he's a racist. Who saw it? Really great film. Very modern, very up to date. It could have been filmed in Beverly Hills, California, about a family, a poor family who starts working for a rich family, and they become parasites off that rich family until they destroy everything. Really clever, brilliantly done, very modern. When you look at a foreign film like something from South Korea, don't put your prejudice or your bias on what you think it might look like. You don't know. Unless you've seen a bunch of Korean films, you do not know. Or a bunch of films from Peru, you just don't know. And when you watch these films, the brilliance of something like Parasite is that it is very much like a Western film. When I say Western culture, and I'm talking about Western like a cowboy. Because everybody's making films around the world to kind of match up with the template from Hollywood movies. And so now, more than ever before in the history of the global village of filmmaking, the films are more and more alike. Is that a good thing? You can write about that. But it's also a way to get an audience. It's a way to get people in the West to watch a film from South Korea and who are dreading it because they don't want to hear a foreign language and they don't want to read subtitles. But they're pleasantly surprised. They see that the pacing, the directing, which they don't want to read subtitles, but they're pleasantly surprised. They see that the pacing, the directing, the acting, the script, the themes are very similar to Western themes, scripts, photography. That's what's going on in the global scheme of things right now in global cinema. It's more relatable and closer than ever before. When you used to watch foreign films in the 40s and 50s, they seemed kind of foreign. You don't know that culture that well. It's odd looking at a French film or Italian film because you go, well, we don't live like that here in America. No, we don't. But that's how they lived then. But because of technology and the internet, we're all one big happy melting pot, aren't we? So the terms, what does a director do? You have a favorite director? Who is he or who is she? Let's just take your favorite director. Let's take a really strong female director, Kathy Bigelow, right? Who won an Academy Award, the only woman to ever win an Academy Award. She directs really, I would say, strong action films, very male oriented. She knows how to get the men involved because there's a lot of action, a lot of violence. It's just not a chick film. So when guys look at it, they go, oh, she directs like a man. Okay, whatever. But she has a large audience, and she's probably the most successful female director in the history of filmmaking for females. And she directed Zero Dark 30, Hurt Locker, Breakpoint. My favorite of hers is Near Dark. It's her first film about vampires. Really clever, rethinking, very violent, and sexy retelling of the vampire story that we've all heard so much. Okay, what does she do? What goes into directing? Now, if you think she is making it all up as she goes along, no. If you think she's pulls the script out of thin air and just starts filming this stuff, no. It's a long, long process. In the old days, they used to have the studios, and you were hired by the studios. You're under contract. Actors, writers, directors, everybody. It's cameramen, crew member, people are feeding the crews, the medical crew, the makeup, the costumers, all worked for the studios. That's not how it is anymore. Now the movies are made at studios, but they're usually independently produced through using the studios. If they film in a studio, if they use Hollywood at all, a lot of it's used for television now. But so the director comes in. They've gone to film school usually. They know how to move actors around. They know how to set up a camera shot. They know what a dolly shot is. They know what a panning shot is. They know what a crane shot is. They know what to do with the camera, hopefully. And they have a vision. And it's their vision that's going to get all the credit. If it's a great film, that director will get all the credit. If it's horrible, they'll get all the blame. That's a director's lot. They are the captain of the ship, absolutely. So you give millions of dollars. I don't know, the average film in Hollywood now is at least $50 million. So you give $50 million. And so you want to get the best director to get the biggest bang for your buck. You want to get your money back, and you also want to make money. If you have a director that knows what the hell they're doing with the camera, with the actors, how to get performances, how to direct an action scene, how to film in small spaces, large spaces, outside, inside, make it look like huge, make it look small. Now they have help. They're technical directors, meaning they know what lenses the cameras do, they know what the lighting's doing. Most directors have a general knowledge of this stuff, but some directors are clueless. I'm reading about John Schlesinger right now, who directed a movie, one of my favorites, Midnight Cowboy. And when he first came up, he had no idea the technical aspects of it. He learned it, and he was still directing movies. He has to. So the director is the commander, their overall vision. It's their tone of voice or their ideas or how they are and their creative thinking and their aesthetic. A film looks a certain way. Every Steve Spielberg film looks just like a Steve Spielberg film. If you know Steve Spielberg, you know what I'm talking about. He's a master filmmaker of a certain type of film. Am I a big fan? No, I'm not. He is too overly popular. He doesn't ever do too much that's going to sit not well with the audience. He's all about the audience. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it helps if the director is creative enough that the story is about, like a writer, they're doing it for themselves. And if you like it, so much the better. That's why tour directors, which we just got done talking about, and were so important. If you like their styles, if you like what they have to say in all their films, you'll like the next film. Right now, fewer and fewer people are considered tour directors. Quentin Tarantino would be the prime example. Yes, absolutely. His films, you know what they're going to look like. You know it's going to be clever, entertaining, dialogue, because he writes his own scripts. You know what the camera's going to do. You know his way, his ironic eye. But I'll ask you this about a Quentin Tarantino movie. Have you ever actually been emotionally involved in any of the characters? Or is it just sit back and have a good groovy time watching everybody kill themselves or torture themselves or do groovy things? I already know the answer. My own answer. What's your answer? Maybe you like Tim Burton, who has a very distinct style. You know who I'm talking about? He does all the Nightmare on Christmas. Tim Burton did the Batman movies, the early ones. Pee-wee's that work really well with his movies. Tarantino usually drops the needle, meaning he's dropping the needle on records from whatever era he's dealing with. They don't use a lot. He doesn't use, as far as I know, too much original music. But Reservoir Dogs, he used "Stuck in the Middle with You." He used that was a big hit in the '70s. He used in Pulp Fiction. He used known hits. Um, Once Upon a Hollywood, it's all hits from the '60s. So that's what's called dropping the needle on a hit record. Guys like Martin Scorsese drop the needle a lot, but they also have their own orchestrations. Like in Taxi Driver, the great Bernard Herrmann, that was his last orchestration. And it looks like a Martin Scorsese film. It talks like one, it walks like one. The themes are similar in Scorsese, all about loyalty and family, uh, organized crime, very confused male characters, very male oriented. He has done very few movies with a female lead. Alice Doesn't Live Here was an exception, and he needed help with it. He needed help with how to deal with female characters. And he did great with it. But then he fell right back onto his mobster movies like Goodfellas and Casino. And his one he did last year about the Irish mob. I can't think of the name of it. The Irishman. Maybe that was it. No, I can't remember. Anyway, De Niro's back in that one. So that's where he goes. That's where he tells his stories. That's how they come across. That's the story he wants to tell in that sort of background. And so that's, and if you're a production company and you want to work with Scorsese, that's what you're going to get. You don't go after him to do a sequel to X-Men. He's the wrong director for that. So we got Kathy Bigelow, who has a strong visual sense, she has directed strong women's roles. Yes, she has. But mostly it's very male, lots of violence, the themes are usually the similar. They're always worthwhile. She's going to be really worthwhile to see her films. As they get more famous and more rich, they make fewer and fewer films. It gets harder to make films. In the old days, you can make 2 or 3 films a year. Now, the average length of time to get a film, you write it, you find a producer, find the actors, find a studio wants to back it, find backers who want to back. Usually, the average is 3 to 5 years, minimally. So they don't make as many films as they used to. I mean, John Ford made over 100 films, 150 films before he died. We're never going to see that again. They can't. The production studio factory-like production is a thing of the past. So what does a writer do? He writes the script, or she writes the script. And the thing is what you don't know about screenwriters, they write everything. All the actors' dialogue is written. Folks, they're not making that stuff up. Unless it's an improvised movie, then that's different. But when you're spending literally $300,000 or $400,000 a day, you better have your dialogue and your storytelling ability pretty much solid. So a screenwriter's brought in to write the screenplay, write the story with help from the director giving direction what they want, the producers what they want. And now, in the old days, they used to hire one writer and it would be one single vision. My opinion, not just me, but a ton of other people out there in the business and writers and other people who critically think about films think that one single screenwriter is better than having 5 up there. Look at the credits. How many people are working on that screenplay? What they do now so often is they hire people to write the action sequences only. They hire people to do the female dialogue only. They hire people to do the male dialogue, the male characterization. If it's supposed to be a funny scene, they hire someone who's known to write funny scenes. That's why screenwriting credits now are crazy when you look at them, how many people are involved. And half these people never know each other. They're not like sitting around a table in a room, hashing it out. That's what you think, but it's not that way at all. And that's why movies have a sort of cookie cutter stamp on them right now. To me, the humor in all these superhero movies is all the same. It's whatever worked in the last one. And so the new one copies that same sort of stylized humor and the violence, of course, and the action. And that's why I think they're successful, because people aren't seeing something new. They're seeing the same thing. Now it's said X-Men, it's called Black Panther. Instead of Black Panther, it's called Ant-Man. Instead of Ant-Man, it's called, the new Batman. Although if you've noticed, in Batman, our favorite character no longer is Batman. It's definitely the Joker. We love the Joker. I mean, did anybody see the movie The Joker? I think it was a reprehensible movie about a guy who wanted to be a fascist dictator. I think the movie was misguided. Was it the good acting? Absolutely. I'm not taking away from that. Did it have a vision, a singular vision? Was it a dangerous message Folks, he kills, if you saw it, he murders somebody on a television show and gets away with it. People want to follow him because he's a pissed off individual. He's not getting what he wants. Look at half of these shootings that we have. What is it usually about? It's about a disgruntled person who is not getting what they want. They're disappointed. They didn't get the job they wanted. They didn't get the woman they wanted or the guy they want, whatever. They're upset, and they're going to take it out on the world by killing a bunch of people at a grocery store or a school. And that's what he was. He was so upset because he wasn't getting what he wanted. And he wanted fame and power and glory. And he wins in the end. And so they set it up for a sequel. Good does not prevail in that movie. I don't think good needs to prevail. But I think when your message is your hero is a murderer, psychopath, fascist, who wants everybody to think the way he does, he wants the world to operate on his terms, I think it's a dangerous message. So that's my feeling about the Joker. But we'll see more of him because he's the character everybody wants to play. He's the fun character. Batman's not so fun. He's a stoic guy, doesn't have much of a sense of humor. Rich guy out there fighting crime. The fun guy is the Joker. Look at Heath Ledger's Joker. They're still talking about it to this day. Look at Jack Nicholson's Joker. That's the fun. Playing evil is fun. It is. And it's entertaining, and people want to see more and more of that. So when a writer tells the story from beginning to end, and then they're kind of shunted off to the side, a good director, smart one, will have the writer right next to him. A lot of times the directors will rewrite the script. Many of them do, for good or bad. And writers, there's a great TV movie series called Mank about the guy who wrote Citizen Kane, or co-wrote it with Orson Welles. And he was kind of shunted aside because, he won the Academy Award, yes, but Orson Welles was so outsized and kind of hogged the credit that this guy kind of didn't get the credit at the time. He has definitely got the credit now. So what did he write? What did Orson Welles write? That's where it gets tricky. We don't know. We sort of know. We do. And that movie brings it out. So that's a writer. Really important. There are writer-directors. Tarantino writes all his own scripts. There's a ton of directors who do not write their scripts, but they work with trusted writers. Cinematographer. A cinematographer used to be the head cameraman, if you want to say, but they do so much more than that. They also light the thing. They light the movie. They're responsible for the lighting of the scene. That's almost more important than sticking the camera over here. The director will hopefully knows what he's doing and will say, put the camera here, shoot up a low angle. Maybe he'll suggest a lens or two because he knows enough about that, or she does. And the cinematographer will say, hold on, I think that's good, but I think we should use this lens. And if the director's smart, he listens to him. I want you guys, I'm going to give you a documentary to watch. Take your time on it. But it's about some cinematographers. I'll put the stuff up on YouTube from now until the end of class in May, so you'll see these things. Sven Nykvist, who was Ingmar Bergman's cinematographer, director of photography on 20 films, greatest films of the modern history, has a great documentary. I've read his book on lighting. Yes, folks, I've read his book on lighting because he's a poet with light. It's an art form. Has it gotten different in the digital world? Absolutely. The great cinematographers are mostly in the celluloid when we're actually shooting on film, not all the digital stuff. With this phone here, I could shoot a film on this by pushing a button that gives me an app that will copy a famous cinematographer's style. And then I buy the app, I aim the phone, and I push a button. So the app is doing everything for me. So these guys had to do it for themselves. And that's where the art comes in big time. I think the more and more digital world we get into, and that's where we are now, we will hear less and less about cinematographers or director photographies. Cinematographer used to be the person who was responsible for the camera, the lighting, and he would also put his eye in the lens and shoot the film. That stopped. The unions stopped all that, and now mostly cinema. They call them director photographies now. They're directing the photography. The director is directing the actors and the action and what goes on in front of the lens, and the director of photography is directing the lighting and the camera. But they don't necessarily look in the lens anymore to actually shoot the film. It's a union rule that you can't do it. A lot of guys shoot their own films. One of them, Steve Sonnenberg, had to get a special exemption because he likes to shoot his own films. He holds the camera. He's out there. He's got his eye in the camera. He goes, how can I direct a movie unless I can see what I'm doing through the camera? Now what they have, the assisted video look, and half the time the directors aren't even next to in the scene anymore. They're out in a truck, watching it all on a big TV screen. So it's changed. But the director of photography, besides the director, is probably the single most important person, out there making the film look the way it looks, walk the way it talks, and talks the way it walks. So when the director gets up there, when he wins the Academy Award and says, when it says a film by Martin Scorsese or film by Quentin Tarantino, there's 150 people behind his name. He's not out there, she's not out there doing it all by herself, folks. And it's kind of a misnomer. I'd like to see him get rid of it. It's not a film by Martin Scorsese. It's directed by Martin Scorsese. The film is by everybody else in the credits. And they all should get credit for it. They're all responsible for the look, the way it came out. They're all responsible because everybody plays a hand in it. What does a producer do? People think producers are the people who bring in the money. That's possible. They have maybe money connections. It's not their own money, folks. Producers aren't millionaires that just hand out their own cash so you could go make a movie. They put the product together. Usually they work with the director in putting the package together. They find the writers, they help find the actors, they help find the locations. A producer is working on the overall film, getting it done. The financing has gotten really tricky. It comes from all sorts of foreign investors, banks. It's really complicated. You don't know where the money comes from. Does it really matter? In the old days, we knew where it came from. The studios provided it. They're living on their profits, and they're putting their profits back into the next films. And that goes on to a degree, absolutely. So, actors, why do they get such big, exorbitant fees? Why do you think? What makes you go to a movie? You like the title? You like the subject? Do you like the director? Do you care who the director is? Do you like the actors? Yes, probably. We go to see our favorite actors over and over again, and then we get new favorite actors. And so the actor in the last 30 years, 40 years has gotten more and more power because you will go see a Tom Cruise movie. Why? Don't ask me. I stopped watching those 30 years ago. You'll go see an Adam Sandler movie. Don't ask me. I don't get it. I don't think he's funny. Successful? Absolutely. Smart? Absolutely. Not taking anything away from that. But people want to see Adam Sandler be childish, and his humor is just not sophisticated enough for my taste. And Tom Cruise is getting a little silly now. I think he's pushing 60, and he's trying to run around like he's 20 years old. And Mission Impossible Part 5, it gets a little ludicrous. Enough already. We love some of our actors. We love them to death. And they're the reasons why we're going to go see a certain movie, because we like that female in it. We like that male in it. And so they get the big paychecks. So when you have $100 million movies and you got Tom Cruise in it, he's going to get a third of that budget and right into his wallet. So they're not making a $100 million movie, folks. They're making a $70 million movie because Tom Cruise has already got $30 million in his pocket. And he probably has a percentage of the gross. So whenever you see the budgets of movies, that's not usually what the movie itself costs. That's what they call above the line payments. The budgets, you never read about what's above the line, below the line. Here's the line, folks. Directors, actors, producers, cinematographers, above the line. Below the line, everybody else. And above the line people become filthy rich and famous on the sweat and tears of the below the line people. I was a below the line production person, production assistant, key grip, and you work 18-hour days. You're exhausted and you're expendable. You could do good money-wise if you get into the unions, but you're below the line. And that just sounds like it is. It's like if you watch Downton Abbey, all the rich people live upstairs and all their servants live downstairs. Well, that's how movies are. The people living upstairs are the face of the movies, the directors, the writers, the actors, the cinematographers. People living downstairs are the people that are schlepping the equipment around. They're building sets. They're sewing costumes. They're doing makeup. Okay, so go look at assignments. Your 6SA is on the boards. Try to enjoy the great spring break. My suggestion is if you haven't got the writing about movies book, it's your loss. You should have had it. It would have helped write the essays. Because in a lot of the essays, I keep saying the same thing over and over if I see something wrong with it. And what it usually is the student is writing a review of whether they like it or not. And I don't want that. I don't care if you like it or not. In fact, you probably won't like it because it's not in color and it's in black and white or it's slow. It's not where you're used to. So I'm not asking your opinion. Hey, do you like this film? I don't care. The films I'm assigning are classic, important films of the entire cinema era. You have to take my word for it. No, not really. It's a fact. And so I'm going to assign the two films. I already listed them. Try to enjoy the films. See them on your streaming services. Sorry if you have to pay for it. I used to show this stuff in class. Can't do it anymore. We're not in a class. Enjoy these films. Watch the film. Do some research on the film. Absolutely. But don't tell me the plot of the film. I know what the plot is. That doesn't mean anything to me. Tell me the analysis of what you think the director's trying to do, what you think the themes are. I listed all this stuff over and over and over again, but it's listed in the new assignment too. How does it make you feel? Does it make you feel anything? And that's not saying it makes you don't like it or dislike it. That's not what I'm looking for. Why is it working? What does the camera, is it conveying the story? Is it working? How about the performers? Are they convincing? Try not to. These films are all set in the 70s, so we're still in that era. Both these films are set in made in the 70s. One was 69, the other one was about 70 actually. So each class is going to do a different film. I'll tell you what they are right now, but it doesn't matter. One is a great film by Bob Rafelson. It was mentioned in that documentary. Bob Rafelson, who created the Monkees and all that. He directed a wonderful film called Five Easy Pieces, one of Jack Nicholson's first starring role. That's one of the films. The other film was mentioned in that documentary too. It's called Midnight Cowboy. And the great John Schlesinger with Dustin Hoffman and John Voight. These changed the culture. The first X-rated film to win an Academy Award for Best Picture, Midnight Cowboy. Now, why is it rated X? It's not rated X any longer, folks. They got rid of that rating a long time ago because it implies homosexuality. Doesn't. We don't see anything. There's no gratuitous sex, but it is definitely implied. And in 1970, that they figured that was too disturbing for mainstream America. They couldn't take it. Too adult. Anyway, those are the two movies. They're in the assignments. Have fun watching the movies, and please do watch them. And I could tell if you've watched them or not. I could tell in your writing that you haven't seen the film. And I've asked, and when I'm critiquing your film, did you watch this film? I don't get a sense that you did. I got a sense that maybe you saw a little of it, maybe, and then you researched it. Try to watch the films. That's the whole point of this class, is to watch these things and to absorb them. Think about them. Analyze them. If you don't see the whole film, tell me in your essay. Let me know. Don't make me guess that you didn't see it. Just say, Mr. Professor Rex, I'm sorry, I didn't see the whole film. Okay. You may lose some points over that because you have an entire week to watch it. But at least you're honest about it, and I need to see some honest truth in these papers. Don't try to fake it. Enjoy these films. They're wonderful. You just got to put your head back 50 years. But they're both in color, so you'll be happy to hear about that. Anyway, that's it. Enjoy it. I'll see you guys when the story of film continues.